Taranaki is better known for its many dairy cows, but the region's fertile soils also contribute to the production of some beautiful wool. I meet an Eltham woman hoping to strengthen the region's wool industry, one thread at a time.
Hello. How are you?
Hi, good. Inside the cosy space of Eltham's main street, Alison Ross is busy at work, weaving together another blanket on an old loom. It's part of a project she's started, developing a Taranaki blanket. Before she can tell us more about that, we have to first untangle the microphones.
It's all right. No, we just had a big twist. They were around each other 3 times. That's a weaver. I'm always untangling threads.
Growing up in Taranaki, Alison always knew it as a dairy region before she married a shepherd and learned more about wool inside the region's various wool sheds.
I was surrounded by dairy farmers' kids from around the mountain. Never really was aware of East Taranaki, but I married into sheep farming. So I was fairly quickly introduced to Tahora and Tarata and Ararata and saw all these wonderful old communities and started to learn some farm skills. And it was a great life. We managed for a Māori trust for a while, and each farm had its own unique things. He was a good teacher and I learnt a lot. I worked in the wool sheds with the various gangs, the nearby gangs.
As a rousey? Or?
As a rousey, yeah. So I figured out how all that works. And then every year at hogget shearing, I'd go down to the shed and pick myself out a nice fleece for hand spinning. It kind of grew from there.
She's learned plenty more about wool and weaving since then, especially while travelling abroad, before returning to Taranaki about a year ago.
In the last 10, 12 years, I've done lots of travelling in the UK. I'd end up leaning over a fence yakking to farmers about their sheep breeds and everything, and learning more and more about the local breeds. And some of them, to look at for me, who'd been a bit spoilt, brought up on lovely Romney fleeces, would look at them and think, golly, this is a breed that the whole history of this area right back to medieval times is built on. And I look at it and I go, really? But actually I've had to pull back my ideas and realise that some breeds just need a lot more prep before you can do anything with them, but what you get out at the end can be absolutely gorgeous. As I travelled around the UK, I saw lots of different breeds and also heard the stories that I hear from farmers here about how they're getting next to nothing for it now. When I got back here about a year ago, I don't know, I just had this idea. And I'd done some weaving. My first weaving was over in the Outer Hebrides on a Hattersley machine loom, which is foot powered, but it's a mechanical beast. It's like a power loom, but it's foot powered. And then I was mostly on wooden looms. Had another go on a Hattersley down in Oamaru. Would settle for a while, buy a loom, do some weaving, then think, oh, it's time to go and sell the loom. So I've ended up putting up lots of old looms too and figuring them out because they've all got their own idiosyncrasies.
This beautiful blanket you're holding here, this is something that you have effectively made start to finish. I mean, you didn't produce the wool, the sheep did that. But you have put this together using one of your looms?
This one, yeah.
How long did it take you to make this prototype?
Oh, well, it depends how long I go and sit there and how often. So how long is a piece of string? If I set to it now, I would do that in a day or two. But obviously a mechanical loom is going to be a lot faster. So it's going to make me metres and metres and metres a day.
What kind of loom are we looking at here?
Well, I've got 4 shafts on it. It's a wooden floor loom. It's countermarch. So that means it's lifting and lowering at the same time, so you get a nice big opening called a shed for the shuttle to fly through.
Would you be able to give me a little demonstration?
We can do that. It's very slow at the moment, but a sleigh shuttle, a ski shuttle I think they're called. And I've got a 2
Alison uses the loom to interlace 2 sets of threads, warp threads running lengthwise and weft threads running horizontally. She presses down on the treadles to raise and lower the shafts, passing the shuttle through the gap between and passing the weft threads through.
So it comes out to about here. And then I'd like to put a box there and a box there and have a string here and throwing. It's called a flying shuttle. So that was quite a key invention in the history of weaving. And as the cottage industry became an industry, that was one of the things that got them faster. And of course then it all gave way to the mills and the bigger machines and things. So there's lots of old folk songs about that. The broke weavers with no shoes on, etc. It's not a noisy loom at all, you know. And also I'm only beating quite softly because it's a blanket. Trying to make a bit of noise. But this, as I say, is just a sample. But I've now got 3 metres woven on here, so I'll cut it up, and I'm nearly at the end. So
How long does it take you to do those 3 metres?
I suppose if I did a metre in a day, that's a pretty good day on this with a shuttle. But
I can see why this one's called, you said, a ski shuttle. It does look like a ski for someone going down a mountain.
Rugs. So the other sort is this. So that's a Swedish shuttle because I love the curves on it, the way it sort of goes in and comes out. But it has a bobbin in the middle on a pin, and the wool comes out here. So you've just it's much more like this speed, and you just have to stop to change a shuttle every now and then. And that's what the mechanical looms have in them as a shuttle. Well, at least I've bought one that's got a shuttle. Nowadays they don't. Nowadays they've got other ways of getting the wool across that are much, much faster. But a shuttle, you have to go back to a shuttle loom to get this. And this is turning out to be quite a retro sort of recipe. So plus it means I only have to sew the ends. I don't have to sew the sides.
The blankets will be made from wool sourced from surrounding Taranaki farms, though admittedly the prototype blanket has been made from wool from the Hawke's Bay. You have a lovely prototype blanket here.
Yes.
Can you talk me through it? What type of wool is it, and where did you source it from?
Okay, well this is Hawke's Bay Perindale, and it's been spun by Design Spun in Napier, and that's what's still on here in terms of warps, although I'm now weaving with Taranaki wool. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. It's washed up beautifully soft, and I possibly warped it up a little bit densely, so it's quite full, and it's only had 2 washes, so normally you would weave it a little bit sparser and thicken it up with the washing at the end, but everyone loves it, so I'm quite happy with this really full recipe, and or recipe, and if you want to use that word. I went into the wool shed at shearing of hoggets, which is young first adult fleece really, and that's what I was aiming for, and farmers figured out different ways to make it work for me, so we tried a couple of things. In one place I went and marked all the sheep the day before, and we put them all through the same shearer, and I roused for that shearer plus. But it was very important to me to throw the fleeces and skirt them really hard and get just the nicest wool, because I wanted to pay a really good price, because I felt that was important. It is important. So
I suppose that's the aim of the project, isn't it? Is to find a new way and to help revitalise the wool industry.
It's only a very small thing I'm doing, but it was really about celebrating strong wool, because the whole thing about it being scratchy, well, this isn't. It's really about how many short ends there are, how many ends there are in there that makes it scratchy. And so if I'm skirting all the really short, even possibly hairy bits out, then I've got the longest, best, nicest, softest in my blankets. And also, I don't have to deal with any dirty stuff back here. So my bales that I've sent over to the scour, and I've since had one spun, another one's being spun this week, 2 bales this year, so that I know there's no rubbish in them, and the yarn that comes out is good. Here's a cone of the Taranaki wool. It's obviously strong wool, but it's not carpet wool.
Again, it's got that, and it's a beautiful colour as well. It comes up
it's just
really
the natural colour. Yes. Well, it wasn't the driest year that last year, so it's come up nicer colour than possibly we were expecting.
I mean, it's a beautiful colour. It's a lovely soft cream, but this is the natural colour of wool when it's clean. And
we might put some coloured stripes in later years. In fact, might do a slightly different design next year, but first year it's just going to be plain white to keep things simple.
And as you mentioned, at the end you've stitched in black and a kind of mustardy yellow. Those are the colours of the
Taranaki balls. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm not really a rugby follower, I'm afraid. But Taranaki is a wonderful place with a strong identity, and I just thought it would be good to put out something like this. Yeah.
No, it's lovely. And I just love this darling logo that you've created with the maunga in the background, and then I presume the highway lines in yellow.
Well, that's Highway 3 and that's Highway 43.
And
that's
the little
where the sheep are.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. And I think, so cool to be showcasing that the region has so much to offer. I think a lot of people associate Taranaki as primarily a dairy region. Yeah. Has there been surprise about wanting to do something for wool?
Yeah, somebody said to me, "Oh, you're really going to have a woolen mill in the middle of all those dairy farms?" And I thought, yes, well, that's the beauty of it, really. I just enjoyed discovering that eastern Taranaki as well. it's a special place. You go out into these valleys out there and they're steep, and there's usually a beautiful river. I mean, the last farm I went to, I had a swim in the Waitara River afterwards, and just the enthusiasm and support of the farmers and the hospitality. Yeah, I just have a wonderful time when I go out there, and then the handling of the wool, and you can't help but feel joyful handling beautiful raw fleece wool.
Alison's on the hunt for a new loom to help take her project to the next level.
So one of the things that I'm looking for is an old 19th century tappet loom that's wide enough to do blankets, probably 72 inch wide reed. That, I don't even know if that still exists. So the loom I learnt on was a Hattersley domestic, so not wide and not electric, not powered by feet. And it had a bigger brother. It had the company that made it made a whole range of all sorts of things and lots of kinds of looms. But once something's in the industry, it tends to get replaced by later models and later inventions. So I don't know if these really old ones still exist. I saw one swinging through the air on a video the other day going into a museum in Bradford in Yorkshire, and I thought, oh, well, I've missed that one. But so a tappet loom isn't very clever, but then I'm only doing 2 blankets. I 12 blankets. I don't need a Dobby or a Jacquard loom, really, but on the whole, as long as it's used as shuttles, I'll be happy. But it's just the more things on it, the bigger and heavier and more complicated they get. So if I could find an old 19th century tappet loom, I'd be pretty happy girl.
A woman of many talents, she also shares with us a song she learned from the days when the Industrial Revolution saw great upheaval in the original loom factories.
I have this old song that I learnt in West Yorkshire, and I'm really hoping not to relive it. I'm a four-loom weaver, as many a one knows. I've now tate and I've wore out me clothes. Me clogs are all broken and stockings I've none. They'd scarce give me tuppence for all I've got on.
That was Alison Ross singing an old weaver song from her Eltham shopfront in Taranaki. She's now moved to a home studio in East Taranaki, nearer to where she gets her wool. Pre-orders are available while Alison is still busy weaving together new Taranaki blankets and gathering more wool from local farmers. You can find photos of her at her loom and find more details on our webpage, rnz.co.nz/countrylife, or check the show notes.